Hi everybody, it is Professor Parish and we are on Module 5 for English 109. So I went ahead and clicked on the Module 5 assignment because to talk about what we are doing this week. So we have the lecture video. I want to talk briefly about Chapter 11, which is on cause and effect, which is what your first paper is going to be about. And then we're going to go over the different assignments. So you have 3 assignments this week. So first of all, I'm recording this on Saturday. So if you don't have the assignments for Module 4 completed, they are due by tomorrow night. So make sure that you get them done. Make sure you get them submitted on time. I know we've had some snow days. Everybody's been stuck either in their house or they've had to go to work, things like that. But regardless, things are due by Sunday night. So make sure that you've got, since you do have the entire week to work on these assignments, make sure that you have them done and submitted. So we don't have any textbook readings assigned for this week since you have extra assignments, but I do want to talk about Chapter 11 briefly. Chapter 11 is about cause and effect. So hopefully you've had a chance to look over that chapter and get some ideas. So on page 246 to 247, they give us some ideas of different story topics that you can pick. So for example, talking about the benefits of exercise, talking about the treatment of American Indians, talking about why I stopped smoking, like these, they all sound kind of persuasive, and a cause and effect paper is persuasive in nature, but not really. It's not a persuasion in that you're not trying to convince somebody to agree with your opinion, but a cause and effect is showing why something happens and the results of it, right? So I'll be looking at your topics this coming week to see what you've chosen for paper 1 on cause and effect. But that's kind of the idea behind it. And then on the rest of the chapter, they just give ideas about writing cause and effect paragraphs. They give examples about outlining. So I had some students ask about outlining. On page 252, they do show you an outline. So you can look at an outline. So if you've looked at the chapter, you'll probably see there's some examples of outlines and some examples of how you can construct your paragraphs in this type of paper. But ideally, you just want to break down, okay, what are the causes of your topic? So like if smoking is hazardous to your health, why do people smoke? And you can list like multiple points, right? And so then what are the effects of smoking? You can list multiple points for that too, right? So that is important to note. Another thing important to note, I'm going to step outside and go back to our homepage for this, but if you are using research, hint, spoiler, you're probably going to use research. So you need to cite in MLA format, which means you will have a separate page that will list your sources. Now, I don't want you to just copy and paste the link to the source. That's not Modern Language Association format. So what I want to do is show you in this homepage on our very first module here, the MLA source citation presentation. If you click on it, it is going to show you different examples, right? I would keep scrolling down. This will like go over different various examples, things like that. Scroll down towards the middle of the presentation. It's a big presentation because there's a lot with MLA. But you'll notice they'll show you here how to do citations. Let me zoom out here. They show you how to do in-text citations on slide 12. If you've not, basically, I want to see what all you guys know with MLA with this first paper to see where everybody's at. And then for week 6, we'll go over MLA in more detail, if that makes sense. I want to see where everybody's at in this first paper. You'll get a chance to revise. So next week, we'll talk about MLA in a little bit more detail. And so I'll be able to go over that then with y'all. But for this week, I want you to go ahead and look at this presentation and see about the in-text citations, how you do in-text citations. We'll go over this next week. And then starting on slide 16, there's basics, like how do you format a source in MLA format? And most of your college papers are going to require you to do some type of citation. So I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Some high schools go over this in great detail while you're in high school. Some high schools don't. So I know everybody's coming at this from a different level of experience. So for this week, I want you to look at this presentation, right? And just read it over. And then next week for week 6, when I talk about your papers being due, I'll go over this just so you can kind of do a last minute check of your citations and your sources. But if you are getting source information from anywhere else on the internet or a book or anywhere, you need to be citing it in MLA. All right. So going back to our module 5, back to this guide here. So that's pretty much what chapter 11 covers, is just talking about cause and effect papers. And when I look at your topics, at the early part of this week, I'll make sure that everybody's topics kind of align with that theme. And then if they don't, I'll get a hold of you, because this week we have a peer review discussion forum, which we'll talk about. And then you have textbook activity number 3 and number 2. So let's talk about these 2 assignments, the textbook activity and the grammar review first. Let's talk about them first. So your grammar review, I've updated it. It's here. If you click on it, it's basically looking in our book at fragments and run-ons. So if you look on pages 418, there's an activity where you basically place a comma after the final word in the sentence they give you, and then you complete the sentence. In activity 3, you're going to write what the conjunction is. You know, it's like Schoolhouse Rock, conjunction, junction, which is a word that connects 2 sentences. Activity 4 is basically the same as the first activity. You're doing the same thing. And then with activity 6, you are doing, you're writing a semicolon and then the conjunction. Activity 8 is, there's a section about logical dependent words on page 439 that they talk about. You're going to write the dependent word from the box in the list, or the list in the box rather. And then the final thing is review test 2. They have a capital. You basically will have, there are 2 run-on sentences in each passage, and you're going to correct them in numbers 1 through 5. All right. So if you have questions about the grammar review, let me know. But everything should be pretty well explained in the actual textbook itself. But this grammar activity, the grammar review is a little bit longer than usual, so make sure that you give yourself plenty of time to work on it. It's a little bit longer than usual, so I want to make sure you have plenty of time. And if you have questions, just go ahead and let me know. But the other thing is the textbook activity number 3, which is listed on here. And with that assignment, you'll see it's a little bit shorter, so the grammar review kind of balances it out. With this one, you're going to look at pages 68 and 69, and with each section, one of these is going to be the point. One of these 4 is going to be the point of the text, and and the others are all going to be support. So I'll know if you're watching this lecture video because I intentionally did not put it up here in the directions. I wanted you to watch this lecture video like you're supposed to, and you'll know that only one of these is a P. The rest are all S's for support, because there's only 1 point and the rest are supporting sentences. And they tell you that in your book, but I'm curious to know how many of you actually watched this video for me to tell you that, because I'll count it wrong. If you put more than 1 P, you're going to get marks counted off. So like with number 6, one of these statements is the main point, and the others are just supporting sentences that aren't the thesis, but that support it instead. So that is numbers 1 through 15. Pretty simple. You're just doing a P or an S. And then with part 2, you're looking at each passage on page 73 to 74. And they give you a sentence like, students use their phones in a variety of ways. And there'll be 2 passages. One of those passages does not have supporting details that it needs. And you'll put an X by whichever passage does not have the supporting details. Okay? The textbook activity is pretty simple this week. The grammar review will take you a little bit longer. All right. And then finally, let's talk about the peer review discussion forum. So by Sunday of this week, I would like you to post a draft of your cause and effect paper. All right. A draft of it. Remember, this paper has to be 3 full pages. Now, your draft for the actual discussion forum, it doesn't have to be complete, but it needs to be at least halfway done. You need to at least have a page and a half, at least. Here's my rule of thumb with peer review. The more you have done, the better, because that means I can look at your paper and your peers can look at your paper, and we can give you as much feedback as possible. If you just give me a page, I'm going to count off because it's not halfway there. But also, I just have a page I can give you feedback on, and the rest is all up to you. So I would like, if you can, to get a full draft, but if not, at least a page and a half posted in this discussion forum. So here's the thing with the discussion forum. What I would like for you to do is when you reply, I'm going to click reply here. In your body paragraph here, you can tell me what all you want looked at in your paper. You can be like, hey, here's my paper. Please check the grammar and let me know if anything doesn't seem focused. It's pretty simple, right? Pretty easy, right? Very easy to look at. Okay, so there's that. And then what I'll do is after I've typed out that body thing, I'll go down here to this attach button. I'll click attach, and I'll click this choose file, and it will let me choose a file from my computer. And so I'm going to pick that file and open it. And you'll see that it gives you the option, it shows the file that you picked. If you accidentally click the wrong file, it'll give you this X button and you can exit out and you can click attach again, right? And then what it'll have you do afterwards is my image bubble where you can see my face is blocking it, which is unfortunate. But what it will do is that there'll be a button over here where you submit it. And then let's say that I attach that on here. Okay. What it's going to do is, okay, you can kind of see it in the corner here where it says reply. When you reply, the document will be attached. Okay. Do not, and I'm going to put this in big letters, do not copy and paste your draft into the discussion post. Don't do that. Because if you copy and paste your paper into the discussion forum post, it deletes all the formatting. I'm not going to be able to give you feedback because the formatting's not there. If you attach a file, then I can edit it and your peers can edit it and we can attach it back so that you have a copy of it. But if you just copy and paste, all I can do is read it and say, it's looking good so far. Here's some things to change, but I can't give you any specific feedback. So don't do that. I will count off and I won't be able to give you any feedback if you do that. So be sure that you do the proper thing and attach it. All right. So the other thing is that you do need to read at least 2 of your peer papers and offer them feedback. So you do need to probably submit your paper by Friday. I would say by Friday would be good, and that way you have the weekend to look at your peers' papers. If you're a high schooler that doesn't have access over the weekend, I would submit it earlier and try to get feedback while you're at school. That would be the simple thing to do. But as far as peer feedback goes, this is good. If you say, hey, I really enjoyed your paper. I think your transitions, subject matter, and the overall construction was really well done. If I could change anything, I would maybe make sure you have your sources cited in MLA and have a work cited page at the end. I mean, something like that. It's brief, but it not only tells them what they did well, but it tells them what they could change. This is bad. If you just say, great work, I liked it. Why? Why did you like it? What did you like about it? And for the record, any writer, no writing is perfect. There's always something that can be changed. Even your instructor's writing, anything. There's always improvement that can be made. So if you do this, I'm going to take off a lot of points on this discussion forum. And I will say that starting this week, as we get closer to the midterm, I've been taking off points for responses that are too brief and that don't have proper grammar and punctuation. I'm going to start taking off more and I'm going to start commenting about it because I have noticed that some people in the discussion forum, they either copy and paste their responses for both of their peers or your responses aren't detailed enough. It's just not enough for this class because we don't honestly have that many assignments in this class. So the discussion forums, they should be a good chunk of your grade. So if I notice that things are not, I don't have a word count required, which I could, but I don't. So because I don't have a word count required, I do expect the post to be pretty substantial. And some of them have been. Some of you have done a really, really good job. And you've probably noticed with your grade in the discussion forum, if you're getting like an 18 through a 20, that means you're doing good. You maybe got some grammar errors, but you're doing good. If you have less than an 18 in the discussion forum, that means you're not quite getting it. So that's just a rule of thumb. But that's the discussion forum for this week. So like I said, next week, I'll go ahead and add in here. Next week, I'll have looking over the MLA citation presentation. And next week, because next week your paper will be due. Like you have all this week to work on it and you have all next week and it'll be due by Sunday. So next week, I'll talk about MLA and the citation presentation because I always think MLA should be the last thing you do. It's like the final polish on your paper. I wouldn't start worrying about MLA until you're finished with the draft and then go back and make sure everything's cited properly. So I'll talk about it next week in week 6 for Module 6 discussion forum. But having said that, if you have any questions, please email me and ask. Please let me know. I will be out at high schools throughout the week during the mornings, but I will be back in my office in the afternoons. So if you email me, I should be able to get back to you in the afternoons, either that day or the day after. All right? But I'm excited to see your drafts. I'm excited to look at your topics. Like I said, I'm going back here to Module 4 and double checking. Make sure that you have that topic turned in by tomorrow evening, as well as your discussion forum and the textbook activity done. But as always, if you have any questions, please let me know. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back next week to talk about MLA and finishing up our cause and effect papers. Bye.